How's it going? Hope you can hear me okay. And I hope you're not too disappointed by the fact that I cut the Streets of Rage music. We're working on this piece from Gavin Guidry. Uh, Constantine Etrigan. I'm an Etrigan fan, so I can't pass this up. He gave me a big stack of stuff, and he was like, "Choose what you want." So I chose this piece, partly because I love Etrigan, and partly because it has a lot of fire, and it has like a good directional light source. This is like one of those things that like every colorist loves to see in a piece, which is an artist drawing a light source on the page. Give us the glowing sci-fi tubes, give us the torches on the wall, give us the flashlights, give us the like whatever. Lantern being held by a cane by a man in a robe. Give us that. That's what we want. That's the bread and butter. Um, I already flatted it, as you can clearly see. The green flames are kind of just a placeholder because I didn't want it fighting too much with what's going on with Etrigan. As far as the flat stage go, we'll duplicate this. We have a couple of different versions down here. If you notice on the right side in the layers, the reason for that is, well, let me just break down all the layers to begin with. This is a layer on top just to give it the border that it needs. Uh, that is the line art. You see, like, Gavin didn't draw all the way to the edges here. He kind of left himself a border, but didn't use a ruler to rule it out, which is fine. It's totally fine. Uh, so I made a border just so that I don't have to worry about it. Locked that layer. This is a mix of 60, 60, 40, 100. That's CMYK. That is the dark black for print. And then this is our line art, inverted because it's a mask. So it's like a film negative. Anything white goes through. So we want the line art to go through. So the line art is white and everything else is black. And then we have our flats. And then I have a layer of preserved flats here underneath it, which we're never going to actually see. And then we have a layer of just like shapes to grab, basically. So this is like, if I want to grab just the books or just the smoke or just the fire or just Etrigan or just Constantine, like I can do that pretty easily. So I wanted to preserve that. Anyway, here we go. Like I said, I don't know if the fire is going to stay this color. Like, we can mess with the slider. Like I said, I don't want it competing too much with Etrigan. Also, is this CMYK? Yes. Oh, that's the other thing. So if you're watching this on your phone, usually like for the X-Men piece, for the Colossus piece that we've done in the past, even the Delicious and Dungeon piece that we just did, that was all RGB, and my monitor was set up for web. So at the end, this might look a little washed out, but we'll do a web version just to show you exactly what I mean. Uh, Full disclosure, here is my monitor. Here's the Cintiq, and it is at 0.72 gamma. That means it's a little darker than, say, my other monitor, which is at 1 gamma. So, yeah, check your gamma. Make sure it's good. If you're a colorist, you know this. You've struggled with this. I feel your pain. Check your gamma. Okay, let's get into what we're actually doing here. Let's select Etrigan and Constantine. And let's start putting in shadows, I guess. Couple things to think about while working on this piece. Like, we want to keep the light source in mind, so it's like below them. Um, it's below them and around them, so we want to keep that in mind. The other thing that we want to keep in mind while we're working on this is that uh, Gavin is kind of in the wheelhouse of like Chris Somney kind of stuff, like cartoony, solid shadows, but a lot of open field. And so we might try to just generally kind of do our best Matt Wilson impression here for this, because Wilson colors a lot of Somni, and he's kind of settled on something that really works. There's no need to reinvent the wheel for something like that. However, I'm sure that despite it being me being like we're gonna have a light touch because we're gonna do this like Matt Wilson colors Chris Somney. You know I gotta be me. You know it. So I'm sure that I will also add in a little bit of extra Filardi in there, a little extra, the funsy, if you will, fun sized Filardi. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind. So yeah, all I'm doing right now is just I've selected both of Etrigan and Constantine, and I am just that's a fun lardy sized, yeah, fun lardy sized. And then I'm just going in and cutting out the light parts. Basically, this is how I approach basically everything. Um, yeah. By the way, I spent today. Today I had like kind of a weird like half day where I was like kind of working on some stuff and kind of not. But I wanted to talk about uh, the DC comic book that ran for many many years, House of Mystery, on the podcast World's Second Finest when I talk with Jason tomorrow. So I spent a solid like 3 hours maybe, not only getting all the credits right on all the anthology issues that I read of House of Mystery, but also like kind of deep diving into House of Mystery itself. It's a fascinating title. Um, I'm very excited to talk about it, especially since we're going to be ramping up into spooky season. Not quite yet, a little early for spooky season, but this episode's going to be the last, what? The last Sunday in September. So we're going to be like right on top of spooky season by the time that episode airs. Um, what's up, Diatra? Nick doing Filardi things on coloring. Makes sense. Yeah. You know it gotta be me. I don't even think I could, like, I don't know. I don't think I could not be me, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not possible. It, I don't know if you guys listened to, I talked about Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters on the pod just recently. That's the newest podcast that came out. Um, and in it, I talked about how when Joe Kubert came out with Facts from Sarajevo. Joe Kubert's a celebrated older comic book artist, uh, if you don't know who he is. And he came out with this book, Facts from Sarajevo. And he did like a lot of like, he's known for Sergeant Rock and like a lot of like war stories. And so this was like a real life war story. And Barry Windsor Smith gave him toot about how like, oh, I open Facts from Sarajevo and I see Joe Kubert explosions and Joe Kubert, you know, figure work and whatever. And it's like he should have done something else for this, emotional, grounded, real life work. But it's like you only got what you have to give. Like you're putting it all on the page anyway. It's not like you just change, you know. So when Barry Windsor Smith did Monsters, I was reminded of that actually. a buddy was talking about this in a Discord, and it was sticking in my brain while I was reading Monsters, and I'm like, "Yup, it's just a Barry Windsor Smith book with like intense subject matter." That book's intense, by the way, in case you didn't know. Intense in a way that's like, maybe not for everybody. Unlike a lot of the books that I bring to the pod, I try to bring a lot of stuff that like anybody can read and is like widely available. But spooky season's starting, so I'm bringing House of Mystery, which is not widely available at all. I read, by the way, uh, the first House of Mystery, issue one from 1954. I read the cover story because there's two or three stories in it. I read the one that the cover was dedicated to. Um, hey, Gavin, what's up, dude? Gavin's in the chat, first time chatter. How you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. Did you go to Dragon Con yet? Did Dragon Con happen already? Are you gonna be at Dragon Con? How do we promote you, Gavin? Let's promote right now. I wasn't sure if Dragon Con already happened or not. Man, I this year I was like, I'm going back to cons, and then I got like all fired up, right? It was last week. You got COVID. Oh damn. Well, not only are we not promoting you, but you got COVID. That sucks, man. Take care of yourself. Uh, I got all fired up about cons, and I was like, "You'll be at New York City Comic Con in a month. Dope." Um, a very cool book that I'm working on is getting announced at New York City Comic Con, but I will not be there. I got all fired up about cons and put a bunch of them into my calendar, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to these, and then I'm watching like every con just roll on by through my calendar. Except I'm doing at the end of the month I'm doing Asheville Beer City Comic Con, so I will be there for that. I think Rico's gonna be there too, so should be fun. We're on a coloring panel together. Man, I'm so excited about this book that's getting announced in a month at New York City Comic Con, but I still can't, it's a hot one, and I can't tell you what it is. Uh, You're like gonna have eight big two things on shelves between now and the end of the year, between cover shorts and Superman 78. Nice, dude. I always knew it was gonna happen for you. Just matter of time. Congratulations on having a really successful year, though. That rules. Love to see it. New York City Comic Con, and maybe Galaxy Columbus on your last shows of the year. All right, all right, man. New York City is a huge show. Have you done New York City before? Um, it's been a bear waiting to release stuff, but it's all coming together. Yeah. Um, New York City is a huge, huge con, and I I kind of hate going to New York City. You love it. New York City's great. We are not in the same. It's not in the same mentality. I hate dragging the books. I hate that the airport's far away. I hate that the convention center's far away from all the hotels. I'm just like everything is a pain. Is a total pain as far as like setting up a table and then you got to bring extra product because there's so many freaking people there, and then there's so many people there that I don't want to walk around and talk to anyone, and then like the other thing that drives me nuts is that you will see everybody you ever knew in comics, right? But you only see them for like 30 seconds. So it's like, I don't know, man. The whole thing overwhelms me. My introvert spirit gets weakened by New York City Comic Con for sure. Oh yeah, the airport taxi ride is a nightmare. Oh my god. So the last time I did New York was just before COVID, and I get all my stuff right. So I have like books that I'm bringing with me, as well as everything that I pack. You also have reps bringing a bunch of stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah. You don't mind walking to hotels. Yeah, like when you're doing it all yourself, when you're not like shipping anything to the table or having reps deal with anything, like it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, but I remember getting like I get motion sick on plane rides pretty easily, and I remember being motion sick from the plane ride. This is my New York City Comic Con experience, and now you'll know why I don't go to many. Um, uh, I'm chatting and I'm forgetting where the light source is, so we're gonna get back into the fingers here. Um, I've been to too many fancy DC parties to enjoy that anymore. I would rather be at home with my dog and my lovely wife. So I'm getting motion sick from the plane ride, right? And we finally land, and I'm like, okay, just got to get my bags and stuff. And I'm bringing extra gear, and so I have like 3 bags, and I'm like really, struggling. And I you get into the airport, I get my bags, and then to get a cab, you got to go back outside, wait in line, and it's hot. The last time I was there, and so I'm there, and I'm like still a little motion sick, and it's really hot, and I'm like lugging all this stuff. Get to my cab, cabbie will not turn on the air conditioning. Every time I ask him to, he turns it on for like 3 seconds and then turns it back off. Um, so I'm in the back seat, like dying. Like I really thought that there was going to be a moment where I was opening up the cab to puke out of it, kind of thing. Um, and it's like you were doomed from the start. Yeah, yeah. Uh, so I I'm like struggling, and the cabbie's not listening, and I'm telling, and I'm not being coy about it either. Like I'm telling him point blank. I was like, if you don't turn the air conditioning on, I will vomit in your cab. You make the choice. And he gets me as close as he can get me to the hotel, but like the hotel is in where the Javits Center is. It's like Manhattan, so it's like there's tons of people everywhere, and he gets me as close as he can get me without waiting in the cab for like another hour, and so he drops me off, and I have like a backpack, 2 bags that I'm carrying, and a rolling duffel, and I'm like trying to navigate uphill on the sidewalks, right? And I get to my hotel, and my buddy Jason, who's on the podcast with me, was helping me out for that convention, and so he was waiting there to like check into the room, and he sees me. He was like, "I just saw you roll up, like the bag gets snagged on a little ledge, between the sidewalk and the doorway, and then you just like stopped and just went and closed your eyes, like." And so Jason was like, "So I thought I'd come out and help you." It's everything's hard. Everything's hard when you go to New York City Comic Con. That's why I don't go very often. I'd go more. I like the show itself. I think that I would have a lot more fun if I didn't table. Every time I tabled, I've been fucking miserable. If you've seen me, if you've met me at New York City Comic Con, know this: I was upset to be there. You stay with Robert. You have a good time. Yeah, Robert's good people. Robert Wilson the fourth. I haven't chatted with him in a while. Missed that dude. I have a good time once I'm there, and then like once I lighten some books, and then like I don't have to drag them home. I start to have like a little bit more fun. But like, whew, man, just that show, whew, whew. Yeah, yeah. See, colorist, like nobody's lining up for my drawing, so I gotta move books if I'm gonna like sell anything, you know. And man, I hate doing marker commissions. So writers, colorists, admittedly have it harder. Yeah, just stacks of books. And you know what I figured out too when the last time I was there, I was like, there's no way for me to bring enough cons or enough books to cover the expense of New York City. I feel like I'm just complaining. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But this is the realities of going to cons as a colorist. There's no way to bring enough books. Like, I sold the most books I've ever sold at New York City Comic Con, and I covered maybe 30% of the financial spread, maybe 40. It's just like the city's so expensive, the hotel's so expensive. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's a tough one to justify for me personally. Yeah, you can eat cheap, especially when like DC is feeding you. Like those things can make it cheaper, but it's like shit, man. I probably spent like 2.5 grand on the hotel. It was like a lot. It's a lot. Uh, when the expenses that and like granted, I could have like Jason volunteered to help me out, so I wasn't gonna charge him for the hotel. So the hotel was like all on me. If I like pooled my money with people, like I could get a better deal. But I also like kind of like having my space. I don't know. Um, Admittedly, there are things I could do to mitigate the financial cost. I haven't done Awesome Con in DC. I haven't done the DC or Baltimore con. Um, I hear they're both real good. But yeah, man, I haven't done a con since COVID. So, like, my banner is still the Realm. I'm like, I got to get a new banner, and then for whatever reason, I just have not yet. Splitting with one person's your limit. You're not packing into a room with multiple people. Yeah, the people who do like uh, the people who do like I don't know what my computer did just then. Um, like 6 people in a room. That's madness. It's total madness. Especially because like I said, I'm pretty introverted, and when like the con is over, I need it to be over. Like I like con continuing in the room is like not where my head is at. Maybe my issue isn't New York City Comic Con. Maybe my issue is cons. But at the same time, I like seeing what everybody's working on. It, like puts energy into me, you know? Cons are great for that. I'm not still in Florida. No, I'm in North Carolina now. Yeah, low key hangs. That's the way to go. Plus, like when you do a big party, it's like you don't get to talk to everybody. Everybody's like half distracted. It is what it is. All right. Let's. Okay, so we added shadows. I don't know if we're gonna keep all of them. Uh, but this is a good place to start. let's warm it up. We've selected the inverse of our selection of shadows. We're just gonna play in the space. So like we could do green. Let's back it up. So like obviously fire indeed hot. But like we could do, because they're magical and whatnot, we could do like, you know, a greenish fire, and then instead of doing this like orange, here, wait, let's just drop the opacity a little bit. We could do like a green. Maybe? I'm trying to think for a second. Okay, so here's a consideration. Here's this green, right? And we got 76, 0, 100. The green fire's awesome. Everybody's into it. I guess we're locked in, huh? Fuck. I was about to be like, here's why green is a problem. But you know what? Heck it. In that case, let's dial it in. Now start explaining why green is a great choice. Yeah. Let me tell you why it's smart that we're doing green. Alright, let's merge that. We're gonna warm up our boys just a tiny bit, so that they can kind of stand out. We're gonna warm up the background piece here so that it kind of stands out a little bit. We're gonna make these guys green. Actually, we could probably push it way back. And we're gonna get into details on the bookshelf in a minute, but let's figure out what we're doing everywhere else. So the reason I was gonna say green's kind of a weird choice is like we're trying to make this as bright as possible, and green sometimes doesn't want to really work with you. It really depends, because so the printing process is cyan, magenta, yellow, so those colors are always going to be the brightest. Like pure cyan, pure magenta, pure yellow. So you want to try to like lean into those if possible when you're trying to do bright colors like the flames here. Since green is a mix, it's always going to be a little bit darker. It's just the way it is. But I think we can get around it. Start rendering the fire. Let's have our vegetables before we have our cake and start getting in here with this fire. Rendering fire and smoke is a little bit boring, but is kind of like, I don't know, It's like Zen like. It's not why the cover was so dark. The one that we were talking about on Discord. That one that we were talking about on Discord. Shoot, I don't know if I could find it. Um, they literally just like didn't calibrate the monitor properly. Like they just picked colors that were like way too dark. There was a really beautiful piece of like anime Batman influenced thing. Oh, we can actually get in here too. Let's get in here. Um, I posted it in the Discord like a long while back, and the creator was like, "Oh, I did these gray tones on this thing, and I thought it looked fine, but I have." They were like, "I'm an artist. I don't have any experience doing color," and then it hit print, and it was like illegibly dark. Um, that is going to happen when you don't calibrate your monitor. Like I pulled those JPEGs down, and given they're JPEGs, so it's like rough idea of like what the CMYK like file is gonna look like, but like his highlights, he was already putting down like 150% out of like what is it like 260 is like the top. That's we're talking about like percent down for color, like what the color limit, the ink limit on the page is 260% between, so you can't put like, cyan at 100, magenta at 100, yellow at 100, K at 100 and be like, it's black, it's so soaked that like the paper will warp, and it's bad. It's a bad situation. And they just didn't have enough experience, didn't realize whatever, and because of that they ended up with this really dark thing that they didn't want, that looked great in monitors. Like it looked great on my phone, but otherwise was really rough. And I think that same thing happened with that cover. um if Gavin's still here, are you on Blue Sky? I was gonna tag you on there, but I don't think I'm following you, and I didn't know if you were on there or not. Always check your monitor gamma when you're doing color. It's a big thing. I talked about it a little bit on the pod. um I'm not immune from this. I remember way back when. You're on there. You'll hunt me down real quick. Cool, thanks. uh way back, when I was doing my first DC work, I was working with Jeremy Hahn, and he was like, "I want texture on this," and I was like, "Done deal." And so I was like multiplying down texture, and with multiply, everything gets darker, so you get more and more ink with like every multiplied layer, and it just, I couldn't see it because my monitor was too bright, and it just turned into a total mess. And DC production had to like start emailing me and be like, "Yo, we can't print this. Like, you got to figure this out." And to me, I was like, "Oh, it looks fine on my monitor. Like, we're good here." But you got to look at the numbers, man. You got to look at those numbers. Yeah, I learned the hard way for sure. I learned the hard way, and I still have a career. That's my point. Is that like, you there are going to be some mistakes along the way. Like everything is a learning experience, as you figure out, print and everything else, as you navigate comics. Um, and don't feel like the world is going to crash around you if you ask for help or even need help without asking. Some sometimes sometimes they ain't gonna ask. They're gonna tell you. um, that'll happen. That'll happen sometimes. I mean, those notes were not great to get from editorial. Like that, those were some those were some panic-inducing notes on my behalf. But it is good to get like just I find nowadays, especially because I've been doing this for so long, that like when I get notes, I'm like, yeah, 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 notes, notes, because a lot of times I hand stuff in and people are just like, yep, you did it, and like that's it, and it's like, oh man, I want like opinions, like the I think the problem is that like a lot of notes and stuff now at the level that I'm at when I've been doing this for 20 years nonstop is that uh, a lot of it's like it gets down to personal taste, but at the same time, like I would like to get some notes about that stuff. You know, you're surprised how few notes. In my experience, um, if it's a small project with a terrible page rate, you will get noted to death. If it's a big two project with like a lot of with like a decent page rate, you're golden. You will not receive a lot of notes. Like a lot of times, DC, Marvel, like especially if it's not you know an event or something like that. If it's not like a big book, you know, uh, they kind of let you do whatever you want. Like they're like, we hired you for the job. We're not going to tell you how to do the job. You just do the job, you know? Whereas I feel like with a lot of small publishers, they're like, if we don't give these inexperienced people notes, then like who knows what we're gonna get? Super smooth sailing. Yeah, yeah. Mostly comics is super smooth sailing. Outside of like a few horror stories. Need like a mid tone in this thing. I like notes though because a lot of times people will like I've been staring at the page for too long and like people will see something that I don't, and I appreciate that. As like, you know, I'll go back and like look at work again, like previous work, and I'll be like, ah, I could have changed that. Even stuff that's like 6 months old, I'm like, with fresh eyes, I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay. So we kind of have green fire. We haven't added any effects or anything yet. Let's see if we can green it up just a tad. We could pull some levels on it to get the highlights high and the darks dark. There we go. We're getting there. Um, it's a little bit intense on the bottom. See how the green's like kind of edging into yellow? Like that's fine. I don't mind it. But if it was like a Green Lantern book, it would be a problem. Um, But like the magical yellow green flames, that works. We can do that. We can work with that. They can be a little yellowy. I've got some like cinders and stuff. We used it on the X-Men piece we did, the Andy Kubert X-Men piece. We can probably see, I can see how it looks, but like I was saying up front, like we're kind of in the in like the Somni wheelhouse here. So I mean, I think that we're in a situation where less is more, but we will see. We might even want to go white on the bottom here in his immediate crotch. We'll see. We'll see. I do want to get the cape to be a little more green, but I don't want it too green because I still want it to stand out. We'll see how we handle that. I think Etrigan's going to be the tough part, and then Constantine's going to be the dessert. And I think that this piece is going to be good with a little bit of texture on it too. So we'll see how that goes. Like, does white work down here? Maybe? We would just we just gotta polish up that crotch. Right? Like we've been doing for 20 years. Should this be greener? I don't even think I can get greener. I mean, it can get greener. We're getting there. We're figuring it out. I think once we add effects for the fire, a lot of this stuff that I'm wrestling with in regards to the crotch and thighs here. Um, I think a lot of it's going to fade into green anyway. Once we start adding like glows on the flames and stuff. So I don't know how much of that stuff is going to be like we might be being too precious here, which is what I'm saying. We might just need to like put something down and then see how it goes, kind of thing. And maybe this needs to be like a little more red. We could add some like bounce light kind of in here. That'll be like, we might be in danger of like overworking it, but it could be like a nice little subtle thing in here. To make his pants, the goal is to like make his pants feel a little more red than his thighs. That's the problem that we're having, is that like things need to look separate. Also, can we just throw it out there? Etrigan's costume's ridiculous. Look at this dude. He's got little booties. And then he's got underwear. It's like from waist down, he's going to the beach. And then waist up, he's a demon. Come on, Jack Kirby, get it together. You know? What was he thinking? What was he thinking? It's pretty medieval, simple, and goofy. Have you all read Jack Kirby's The Demon? Because it's a wild ride, and I love it. It's a really good time. If you haven't read Jack Kirby's Demon work, it's a really good time. Ren Fair's in the streets, demon in the sheets. No, no. It's not actually what we want. It's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's. I guess it's what some people want. I'm sure. All right, let's add that little bit of red in here, just to warm it up in spots. Man, when I started this, I was like, we're going to do some simple, colorful, Matt Wilson-esque colors. We're not going to get too into the rendering. And here we are into the rendering. Like I said, can't help but being me. You read it a long time ago. Deserves rediscovery. It's a pretty quick read, yeah. It's just like, man, I've been, like I said before, I've been reading some House of Mystery, and the comics from like the 60s, 70s, just like they just hit different. There's nothing like them. They're so weird. It's so good. And they're just trying things. They're not worried about like, can I turn this into a procedural television show? Like, can I, any of that stuff? None. They don't worry about any of that. Like, it's just wild shit all the time. there's there's a part in the first issue of the Demon where who is it? Morgan Le Fay is trying to keep an eye on Jason Blood, right? And in order to do this, She does not spy on him. You would think, oh well, Morgan Le Fay, she's a witch. She's gonna spy on Etrigan via magical means, right? Like that makes sense. No, she buys the apartment next to him, and then sets up a two-way glass mirror. She literally just creeps on him as his neighbor. It's so fucking good. It's like, oh, Morgan Le Fay is also, not only is she a great witch with incredible raw power, but she's also kind of a little creepster pervert, like a little bit. Batman 66 level of villain. Yeah, it's like that's the mentality for sure, for sure. Oh man, Jack Kirby, so good. If y'all like the Demon too, we talked about this on our podcast too. The Batman Gotham Adventures annual issue 2, the one with the demon on the cover, is like Bruce Timm's love letter to Jack Kirby, and it is a perfect comic book. Just like a raw celebration of Jack Kirby being awesome, and then Bruce Timm also being awesome. It's so much fun. You know what? Actually, I wonder if I can get like an orange, like we did with the red, and kind of like put it in some of the details in the hand. We could probably do that. We're gonna try to do that. So I'm gonna get rid of the shadows that we put in the palm. I'll grab some of this too. It's a little brighter on this hand because it's lower from where I pulled the grad before. Like add it over here. Really kind of get the silhouette of the hand to pop a little bit. Okay, let's get an orange. Oh yeah, look at that. Feels warm. Speaking of goofy costume, Kirby probably read Prince Valiant for that. There's a scene in which the Val pretending to be a demon and he's wearing the exact same clothes and face, pretty much what Kirby did. Yeah. Hey man, like I put nods to other stuff I like in comics. Like Jack can do the same thing. Lord knows you're sitting at that table for a really long time. You're gonna end up pouring into it like everything you can. All right, let's get into the chest. We'll get into that shoulder in a minute. Alright, so we want to use like this as kind of a highlight. So we are going to do that. just like a little bit in the bottom here. We're obviously not done, but I figured since we're in this mentality, we might as well do the rest of the red costume. Before we go in and add the rest of it. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Man, I still have my earbuds in for no reason. Just got used to having them in there. What's fascinating about House of Mystery is the legacy of horror American comics. It circles around the passionate creatives and great illustrators. Yeah, man. There's so many. So when I was researching for the pod, I did not realize House of Mystery. One of the first books that Karen Berger, who basically spearheaded Vertigo. It's like one of her first books that she ever edited after Joe Orlando left. And Joe Orlando, famous for EC Comics. So he's like a perfect fit in this like weird like space that House of Mystery lives in. It's just like, I don't know, it's just really great. Not only that, but like with House of Mystery, you also get pre-Comics Code Authority horror comics when it starts, and then it adjusts to the code, the comic code, by doing like more sci-fi things, and then we hit the 70s. It starts to like let go of the code a little bit. Like the code loosens and it becomes a horror book again. It was like for the middle of House of Mysteries, it's a Martian Manhunter book, and then a Dial H for Hero book, which is like absolutely wild to me. I guess at the time, Martian Manhunter had a book. He was like in the Detective Comics backup, and then they moved him over there, and then once he was done, once they were like, "Oh no, we're doing horror again," he went back to Detective Comics. I don't know. I didn't research that, but yeah, just totally wild. Man, I I love horror anthologies. They're so good. They're so good. Just a lot of fun. Yeah, horror. Like the fact that Karen Berger was working on House of Mysteries is like such a like delightful little like cross of events, um, as she becomes like, the center of Vertigo, eventually the center of DC. But like at the time, it was like, oh shit, yeah, Karen Berger, that makes sense. I see the trajectory now. Man, comics are great. Comics are great. I It blows my mind when people don't read comics, like especially when people like will um, watch all the movies and then not read the comics. I'm like, dude, the comics are so much better. Like, what are you doing? And then you start like digging into like old stuff, and you're like, oh, it's all good. It's all good. Man, when I was reading, even like your quote unquote bad comics, uh, like I was reading the Doctor Fate where he gets a knife. He's dumb. He's not a doctor. He's just Fate. I was reading that stuff and I was like, you know what? There's some good shit in here. The red's a little powerful. We can tone it down just a hair. Okay, we're getting there. We got a little sloppy on that red. Let's just clean it up just a little. Okay, now his head is interesting because it's the furthest like from the center of the fire where we want our light source. So yeah, the '90s stuff where Fate was like a arm or a antiquities broker, which like is fast and loose with he was stealing shit and fencing it on the black market. Um, Man, that book is excellent. It's so wild and so dumb, and it's just like it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. All right, we gotta figure out how to get his cute buttony nose going. So we're putting a lot of shadow down. Um, this will make sense eventually. we're going to grab that same orange from the hands. I mean, we can put some of this here too, actually. I'm looking at it. Might as well. It's kind of a lot. There's a lot going on in the face. Let's just like smooth it out just a little. Cause like I said before, like we want to be in the Somni Wilson wheelhouse. So a lot of mark making on the face is kind of not what they do in general. So we're gonna just try to even this out just a little. All right, we're getting there. Let's go full green on the inside of the jacket. Sleeves are so much fun. So what I like to do is throw a grad through it, and then I'll pick up like the highest high down here, and then like just kind of add it into the fold, and it'll be more apparent the higher up the arm we get. We can take a little bit of the screen and give him like a rim light, but I don't know. Gavin didn't really. The line is heavy here, so I think it's like supposed to be mostly in shadow. So we can kind of like suggest the idea of like, oh, maybe he's got something going on here, but we'll pull back from the idea entirely. Just do it on like the base of the sleeve. All right, now the shirt should be kind of white, so we're gonna grab like a green and just like pull the like a very light green, set it to screen, and just pull the grad through. Um, Just like a little bit of blue in there. Let's keep going. There's not a whole lot to talk about because, like, I'm basically just on the one hand, I'm kind of just trying stuff, seeing what works. So it's like I'm, doing the thing where it's like, okay, like we've got a kind of a roadmap, but let's just square peg round hole the rest of this. Like we're gonna put the details in and kind of figure it out as we go. We're gonna warm up the skin tone because he's looking a little sickly. I don't know if we're gonna stick with this. Yeah, the cigarette smoking green. Yeah. Of course. We don't need to do too much to the smoke, but I do want to add just like a little bit of softness to it. Much like Etrigan, he's lit from the bottom, so we're gonna light the eyelids, or the above the eyelids, under the brow, kind of thing. I don't know about this skin tone. It's kind of not working for me. I wonder what it is. Let's green up the highlights. Is it magenta I'm missing? Maybe. Here's the thing. When you look at a lot of Somni Wilson stuff, sometimes they stay on local color in places. And I wonder if this is one of those places that they would do something like that. There we go. We're getting there. That's a little too brown. That's a little too red. There we go. I'm trying to see how it works zoomed out as well. We're kind of getting there. Kind of getting there. Constantine's got blonde hair, right? There we go. Alright. Let's mess with the books just a little. Oh, we got a little... Okay, let's take this green, put it on the under of the bookshelves. So it looks like the fire is like lighting the underside of the bookshelf. Because that's what we are going for. Maybe that's too much. We could scale it back. It's easy to scale it back. Add a little red. We can kind of add a little variation in. We don't have to do too much because the books are not the focus. We might even actually push the books back with like a color hold. So I'm just gonna, you know, get in here and we should select the books. There we go. We don't want the books to have like too much contrast with each other because then they're going to start to pull focus. So we're just kind of like very, very low opacity. Like we're at 30 opacity and like it's still a little bit much, but it's not too bad. And we can add like little like gold to it. We're getting further and further away from the green that we had set, so we might wash it in green at the end. We'll see. We add a little green highlights on them. Screen 30%, yeah. Like the spine is kind of circular or beveled, so it'll pick up a little bit of light in like a line like this. It helps green them up too, so it works. Okay. What else do we need to do before we start to move on to like effects and stuff like that? We can mess with the smoke. My issue with messing with the smoke is that I am a little afraid that we are going to get too close to the like. Okay, here's my problem with the smoke. Right, if we really green it up, it starts to fold into the rest of the piece. It doesn't frame them as well. But we could kind of start here and see where we're going to end up. Just like try some shit. Oh, I should probably highlight the demon's eyes and teeth and stuff too. We'll do that later. There's no need to do it now. I do not have just the smoke selected. There we go. And let's try to frame Constantine in here. We're using a very large brush and some broad strokes. Just trying to like paint a roadmap a little bit. And some like speckles. Could try to get it a little bluer. Yeah, that's the ticket. A little bit bluer. I did not see the 2015 Macbeth film. Director used smoke machine on every scene. Tridimensional effect. The smoke is surreal. It's just like a visual vibe. Yeah, a lot of productions will use smoke. Like I started noticing it all over the place lately. But there's a lot of if you want to create like atmosphere and mood, like smoke is like the easiest way to do it, especially if you're lighting a scene, because it'll make like the background seem like smoky and distant and like, you know, that kind of stuff. I love it. I love when like a director liberally uses smoke. I think it looks fucking rad. It's my jam. Uh, Man, Archie. I don't know if you ever watched that show. First of all, that show is absolutely unhinged and kind of great. Um, I've only watched a few seasons and then dropped off, but Shannon kept watching it, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's like just like a bonkers amount of smoke. There's sometimes when they're in their houses, I was like, how do they see each other? Their house is so smoky. We're gonna try pushing the books back a little bit. We're by no means close to finished. Oh, what am I selecting? There we go. Okay, let's select a greenish black, fill it in there so that when we add a little bit of green and a little bit of the black mixed in, Just push it back just like a little bit. Just a little bit. We could try like a reddish. See how that looks? Maybe a brownish. The blues in the book are fighting me. Just a little bit. Push it back just a little bit. He has a water tank for external so that he could wet every floor for night scenes, and everybody started replicating this in the 80s. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Love that shit. Give me that wet floor. I wonder if we could actually, you know what? Will this look good in like this like wild neon green? Maybe? Maybe? We can try it. What do we got to lose? The smoke is probably picking up some of that light around the edges and stuff, so, you know, why not? Thanks, Gavin. We're trying. We're getting there. We're close. There's gonna be a bunch of stuff I do at the very end that will do some like punch ups. And like I was saying too, we're working CMYK for print here, but when we get to the end, we're gonna make one for web too, and that's what's gonna go on the internet. The internet. You guys hear? You guys ever hear of the internet? Shannon and I have been watching a lot of Supernatural lately. I've been talking about it in the Discord a little bit. Um, there's a character in season 6 that is back from the dead, but he grew up without the internet. So the boys actually trick him once by just like him, like he's just has a GPS, like hands him a GPS or puts one in his car or tracks his phone or something. And they're like, he doesn't know. There's no way he knows. We'll get him. I thought that was like a cool little thing. Preying on the weakness of time travelers. I'm into it. Those guys are insufferable. Now we're just painting the line art here. We might darken this up. It might get because it's getting a little lost in places. So like on this, for example, this little guy, it's like a little too similar, but you know, we'll see how it looks at the end. Gavin gave us a pile too. I might there's a not only did he give us larger pieces like this, but little portraits as well. So we might do a few portraits too in the future. Um, there's a few that I kind of wanted to try, and in general, one of the things that I like to work on occasionally is just like getting shadows on faces like to be interesting. That's like one of the things that I think is like one of the best things about comics. One of the coolest things is like you're looking at heads and hands basically every time you read a comic. You read when you read a comic, you're like, and this is true of like most people. Most people will not stop and look at every piece of art and study it. You know, like most people will read the word balloon, look at faces and hands mostly, and then move on to the next word balloon. So if you can render faces really well in like interesting ways, then you'll go. It's just worth putting your time in there. You know, like a really well rendered torso's fine, but unless it's like a thirst trap shot, it's like I don't know why you're putting your time there. Half the audience won't even see it unless you make it real thirsty. I guess then depends on the comic you're working on. Thirstier the better, I guess. Man, we're a little bit sloppy over here. Okay, okay. All right. Did we get all of the fire? I believe we did. I'm gonna try a thing. Let's try a thing. Just like the underside of the cape, the edge of it. I don't know if this is gonna make it blend in too much though. Yeah, it did. Alright, let's select the screen that we put down and then darken it up just a touch. Just a touch. Like a little bit of K in it. Okay. Let's add some effects. Obviously we want this thing glowing. All the fire needs to glow. So we set a screen layer up top, grabbed a green. We're just going to pull some grads. We're gonna modify these in a bit, but basically, like we were talking about before, we're just filling the room with smoke right now, basically, because I'm gonna use this to kind of like separate the figures even from themselves a little bit. Man, this should be greener. That whole pocket in there should just be like really green. Because it's like right in the middle. A little bit of red in the corner there. A little bit of red in that corner, maybe? 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 Maybe. I don't know about the red. We might come back to the red. Okay, so the line art is looking very gray right now. If you're at home, you're like, this looks like butt, and you're right. But it's not gonna look like butt forever. Let's take this this black that we have here. So our regular working black is 60, 60, 40, 100. That's the CMYK right here, right here. In the lower right of this panel. 60, 60, 40, 100. Now, I use a mix of that. Like, so that's 260%. So I'll take that 60, 60, 40 and be like, okay, what if we just do, instead of, 160 that way, we do 80, 0, 80. And that looks greener. Now you can't make the whole page look like that, because the reason is because when it prints, the darks will look green. They'll look green. But you can, in like the places where we are using the flares and stuff, just kind of like green up the darks in here a little bit. And like, granted, the flares are still kind of a lot right now. I totally agree with you. So we're gonna start to kind of like piece them apart in a shadow mask. So like, one thing I want to do is I want his knee to be in front of his chest, right? So we're gonna take his knee and we're gonna get in the shadow mask, and we're just gonna mask out the top of the knee. And we can kind of play around in that space. We're kind of creating a line here, which is not something I normally like to do with somebody else's art, is like start adding in lines, but I don't know. We'll see how we like it. I'd like to get the cape separate from the hand and the leg over here, so we're going to try to work on that. And you can do like, instead of, we did a real hard black there, we could grab white and fade it so that it's like, oh, it's like in front, but it's not, we can kind of fade that line a little bit and still have the knee coming forward. The reason that a lot of people don't do this is because it's extremely meticulous. Because you gotta not only color you gotta like get around the line art, and you want to get it as like close as you can. There's ways to kind of like do this. Like, I'm doing this kind of like quick and dirty, but if I wanted to do it extremely precise, and which sometimes it requires you to do that, you can get in here and get extremely precise. You can do that by selecting the black line art and then like going in by hand and erasing and stuff. Yeah, that's why I'm not simply selecting the flats, because it'll leave like a halo around the line art, and it'll look a little weird. So you want to get it as close to the edge of the thing as possible. So like, let's go back to our mask here. And like obviously we don't want Etrigan's like head to be faded into the background because we want to be able to see the head. In fact, I'll show you exactly what I mean by like, so we could select the line art like this, right? And then like try to deselect this stuff, grab Etrigan, and kind of like go from here instead and get like pretty accurate. But again, we start to make choices that like, you know, the line artist might not enjoy. So this kind of stuff when this is like taking the thing behind the Photoshop woodshed and just like knocking the hell out of it. Uh, it's a terrible metaphor, but it gets the point across. We're like really pushing Photoshop to its limit with this kind of stuff, because we're starting to like digital paint more than anything, which sometimes works really well. Some artists really like it, others do not like it. It's just, you know, whatever the preference is. And the other way we can do it to get the selection correct is to uh, select all layers with the wand, sample all layers, contiguous, um, set it to like 40, and then try to deselect the area. Yeah, see that worked really well because we want this shoulder to be like popping forward. So uh, let's do that. Okay. Let's tweak some levels. Try to like look at this thing with fresh eyes a little bit. We can try a color balance as well. Try to get the shadows like a little more red. And then the highlights just a little more green. I think we're getting close. I did want to add some texture, so let's do that. Where is that texture? Is this it? That is texture, but that's not what I'm looking for. Homemade texture. Here we are. We're gonna drop it in. I'm gonna show you a quick tip to get texture to work right on top of color holds as well, like in a minute. So we are gonna set this to overlay and then drop the opacity like way down. looks like we're doing pretty all right. So I like this texture. It's a little streaky. So what I try to do is I will save it first, because sometimes doing big filters across big pieces like this will be a kind of a nightmare. Um, we will do filter, noise, add noise, and then like really crank the hell out of it like this. Did that work? Did it not work? It kind of worked. Oh my god, this is so subtle that like I don't even know if you could see it on Twitch. This one's for me. Okay, back and to the left, back and to the left. Let's add noise again, and then let's we can multiply it even. Just trying to give it a little tooth, you know? It's visible, yeah. It's incredibly subtle, especially when you're zoomed out, you know? Man, I'm looking at this now and I'm like, maybe we should make Etrigan's cape dark. Like, because it's kind of getting lost in the flames. And then we already have Constantine's cape over here is like a little light. We're making adjustments. Oh, we have the wrong wand settings. Let's turn off the color balances. Yeah, what if we I'm gonna do this on another layer, just in case. It doesn't make sense, but I like it more. Because it should be like lit from the bottom, you know, but it's we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Our shelves are getting a little lost, so let's figure that out. There you go. Oh, I was going to try a little bit of red, right? A little bit of red. %. 30% is too much. We got back away just a little bit. 20%? 20%. This is looking dope. I want to knock back the smoke because it's a little too forward. Not with that color. Not even with this color, but we're going to start here and then end up somewhere else. There we go. Smoke's still bothering me. It's just like a little, I don't know. Maybe darker isn't the right idea. Maybe lighter is. We're getting all the meat off this baby. This beautiful baby. Maybe even lighter than that. Maybe we just leave it like that. It looks weird as white. Just a little bit of blue. A little bit of blue. We're figuring it out. I think a blue-gray looks a little better. I think I want to go almost white with his jacket over here. Almost white. There we go. Man, Etrigan's arms are very similar, or his like pants and suit are very similar. I don't know. Maybe we just grab his whole suit and just like wash it with a little bit of red. Just like a tiny bit, like a whisper. That's not a whisper. Okay, that I like. I think we're close to done. I think I want to dial back the glows just a tad. Yeah, because Gavin's line art is good. Like, we should show it off. We shouldn't try to cover it up. All right, here's the real question. Does it need embers? And to that, I have to pull up my embers. So, bear with me while I do that. We're gonna, because I don't know where I put them, and I gotta find them, and I don't want you to see what I'm working on. You guys gotta cool it. You gotta cool it. Is this it? I think this is it. All right, we're back. Here are our embers. Now I don't know if this is gonna work. So it worked on Andy Kubert stuff because Andy Kubert. How do I explain this? So when you have like any work, any drawing that anyone's ever done, you have on one side you have like a smiley face, right? Okay, that's extreme cartooning. That is, you've distilled a face to like circle, dot eyes, smile. That's it. You know, like you've stripped away everything. It's extreme amount of cartooning, and then you have a level of cartooning uh, that's like photoreal, um, like a photoreal painter or something like that. You know, so then you have that going on, and everybody falls within somewhere in the middle, like or like the sides or whatever, like whatever extreme kind of situation that you have. So like Gavin leans more into the smiley face than like Andy Kubert does. Andy Kubert leans more into the realism. They're both like closer to each other than they are to the extremes. But you know what I mean? It's like I don't know if the embers are going to work because it might be too cartooned than what Andy Kubert does, but they might work. I don't know. I think we're in like a weird, like we're on a line. So let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got. I screen them down and then kind of drop the. Yeah, this is not going to work at all. This is just, it's just not going to work at all. There's no point in keep trying that. Let me see if I have another. Let me see if I have another kind of like picture of embers that might work a little better. Yeah, this one might work a little better. This one I feel like embodies the piece a little bit better. And we're only going to be putting like embers down in the bottom. The thing about this is that like I'm setting this to screen, right? Not color dot, screen. And you can't see them because everything is so bright on the bottom. But if we like move them up here, we can start to see them. Like maybe this is what we want to do. Maybe we want to do some version of this. We could put like a few of them down, you know? And then we can take we can mask off what we don't want. Like we don't want this line going through the whole thing, of course. So we're gonna try to like mask some of this stuff off. And then like, you know, we don't want it like all over Etrigan's face, or you know, we just want to hint at like some little bit of fire going on. Just adds like a little bit of texture, a little bit of character. Oh, and speaking of, so we have our line art, right? And I want the line art that's colorized to pick up a little bit of that texture. So how I usually do that is I'll take the line art, duplicate it, right? And then clear out everything that's black. And then do the inverse selection on the other one and clear out all the lines. So now we have two layers going on for the line art. One is all of the stuff that we colorized, and the other one is all the black. And so we want to take that colorized one and put it underneath the texture. So now that we've done that, you can see we got a little texture on the line art, on the places that we colored stuff in. So it just adds a little, it's like a little extra. All these things, little details all over the place. But I think we're done. I'm gonna sign it, and then we're gonna make a version. This is like the web, or this is the print version. Oh, you know what I just realized? There we go. Now we're done. All right, I'm gonna grab this green. Pull Nick fill on it. I'm gonna take this. Okay, so this looks great on my monitor. However, like I said before, we're constructing for print. So let's save this, and then let's make one for web, for the socials, because the socials are people too. I think. I don't know. Jury's out on that one. But we can close all our stock footage now. Let's put it in RGB. Merge everything down, because what the hell. Now, we have our gamma set to 0.72 on my monitor. This is calibrated for print. If we up it to 1, and now you guys don't see anything, nothing should change on your end, because I haven't messed with the gamma on your screen that you're using right now, that you're looking at me on. Like, first of all, like, I like that you're looking at me. That's great. That's working for the both of us when some of us are streaming. Anyway, the point is, look. The point is that the screen lightened up. And so now I'm seeing this as you're seeing this. You're probably seeing this on a screen that is way too bright, is not calibrated for print. But we are gonna get it to the right place. We're just gonna mess with the levels just a little bit to get it close to where I like it, which is, I think, right here. I think this looks good. I think the green fire was a good idea. The smoke looks dope. The books look great. The embers are good. I think we're do I calibrate all my... No, because I don't calibrate everything to be exactly the same, because the reason for this is because I sometimes play video games on this computer, and I will use the Cintiq, so I'll bounce back and forth. You know, like, I know that my monitor should be at 0.72. I don't know what your monitor should be at, but this Cintiq that I have currently at its age should be at 0.72 to be close to print. When it's at 1, it's closer to what everybody else's screens are. I use... So, like, these two monitors that I have, I keep the Cintiq calibrated for print, and then I leave the other one as is, and I fix the colors. I used a little spider tool. There's a little... It's like a camera with a suction cup, basically. You, like, stick it to your monitor, and then it uses some programs to calibrate the color so that all the color is the same. So the color will be the same across the monitors, but the gamma will be different. So, like, one will be darker, one will be lighter. So this is all set for like web, basically. And I'm going to save it, and when you I'm not going to let you watch me save it. You can't watch me save it. So because I don't want you to see stuff that I got going on. I got so much stuff going on. We're going to save the RGB. And I think this is where we're gonna leave it. I had a blast on this. This was so much fun. Follow Gavin Guidry on socials. I'm sure he retweeted my tweets. I tagged him in stuff. So, and when I post this up on the socials in on Blue Sky, Instagram, X, I guess X is a thing. Where else is this gonna go? Discord. I'll tag Gavin for all this stuff. You should follow him. He's a great social media follow. He does a lot of sketches and stuff, so you get to see, like, con commissions and things that don't see print. He's drawing all the time. You're gonna want to check it out. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna do more Gavin stuff down the line, but I'm not sure what we're gonna do next. We'll see. We'll see. See if I can get some art out of some other people. We'll figure it out. But for right now, I'm taking off, and we've got Deep Rock Galactic with Boix and Cam on Thursday, and of course the podcast comes out every Sunday. World's Second Finest is the podcast. Uh, if you're into that sort of thing, Jason and I talk about Bat books from 1995 as well as whatever else we're reading in the to read pile. We just talked about What's the Furthest Place from Here. That's the book that Jason brought, and I brought Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters, which is a big downer, but we still had a good chat about it. So you want to check that out. Thanks for hanging out. See you on the next one.